So I have a visitor at the garage, and we're gonna talk about his ride and some of what him and his buddy Mike's into and their channel on our channel, and it all has to do with that car. So I'm going to get behind the camera, and we're going to take a walk around of Jake's car and let him tell us something about it, about what he's into, and yeah. So need to flip that. And guys, this right here is Jake Donahoe, buddy of mine used to work with. And what you called us earlier, pizza roll engineers?
Yeah, pizza roll engineers.
Yeah, so, and this is him and his buddy Mike's car. And Jake, go ahead.
So it's a 1940 Buick Special. I believe it's a Series 40 trim. I don't know. There's a couple different variations. This is actually the smaller car. There's one that's got a 10-inch longer wheelbase than this. We built this car specifically for the OP Patina build-off of the High Plains Riot of 2021. And this is something Mike kind of approached me with, so we kind of just brainchild. We spend more time planning than actually building the car. We put this together, combined, we figure it took us like 40 days of actual work from start to finish. And I got a sheet in here, somewhere that explains it more in detail, but we have like 7 parts cars and 1 parts house in this. So we got the base of the car is obviously the 1940 Buick. The front rear suspension is off a, I don't remember exactly what year, but it's a E39 5 Series BMW. And that would be like 96 to 03.
So for those of you who do not know, my daily driver is a 2003 530i. So basically this car has got the same powertrain and handling, steering, everything as my daily driver I drive back and forth to work. With the exception, this one's a stick shift, right?
Correct. This is a 5-speed ZF. And of course, if any of you guys are BMW nerds, you want to go into more detail, I have all of that on our channel. A little more in depth, but there's a lot of it's pretty standard stuff other than the custom things that interface it all together. But like going from the firewall forward is all custom because obviously,
yeah, they built the whole frame section up here up front and grafted onto the Buick frame.
Yeah, anyone that knows anything about anything older than like the 80s, there wasn't a whole lot of McPherson strut front end anything, so that kind of catches people's attention. But like the nose cone, the hood, all the sheet metal is original. The structure obviously had to change to accommodate for the subframes. But I mean, it is way less complex than it looks. We literally just made provisions to bolt it to the car, made sure it was strong enough for how long it was. And then from the engine to the rear differential is E39 dimensions. Like that's exactly how it is in the car. The only difference is the motor mounts on the subframe. It mounts, I think it's like 14 inches farther forward than what it is in the 5 Series. So in the hindsight, I would have liked to make the car a little longer just so we could call it mid-engine. It's just barely missing that past the strut towers. But
so, and you guys, how many miles did you drive out to the High Plains Riot before you tortured it out there and then drove it home?
Yeah, so the initial, we got it running, I want to say like July 30th. We left August 13th, I think it was. I might have had 100 miles of testing in before that, and that's of course including all the problems and startup issues you have with stuff like this. Going from Knoxville, we tried to split it up into 3 days, so we went from Knoxville to Nashville. First night, stayed with Mike's sister. We didn't have any issues there. The exciting thing there was the night before, we had a bunch of issues with it, just stopped running, so that was cool. But in total, each way, it was like, I want to say about 1,600 miles. Probably did another 1,500 while we were there, because we decided that one of the check marks of the build-off is you had to log 600 miles before you got to the event, whether driving around on the way there or whatever.
Is that the old timing chain off of BMW or something?
Yep, that's off my 7 Series. BMW V8 garbage. Yeah, it's a 17-gallon fuel cell with no baffles, so you know when you're running low when you go around corner's gonna start to die.
Sloshes. So, and guys, just so you know, I received a picture yesterday evening of this car with no front hood on it, front fascia, the engine out of it.
12 hours ago, this motor was on my patio.
Jake, they had a...
And that's minus the 6 hours of driving up here.
So he came from Knoxville today, and Knoxville, Tennessee. The motor they had, I guess they blew a head gasket on out when they went out to the High Plains.
That's what we thought, but doing some more digging of looking at the motor and other things. So the car that motor came out of was out of a wrecked car, which you'll see on some of our earlier videos. There's a black E39 that I tried to jump in my yard because I thought it'd be funny. Well, obviously there's no cooling system on it anymore after it got wrecked. Well, come to find out, talking to the prior owner, she drove the car home like that. So I'm pretty sure that the motor was just screwed when we got it.
It overheated.
Well, obviously there's no water or anything in it. So again, anyone that knows anything about these old 6-cylinders is they're not forgiving for heat at all, like in any way whatsoever. So I think it was hurt day one, and then obviously us testing the limits of everything was not helping. And then because I can't stop touching things all the time, like 3 days into our travel, I was getting all weirded out about only having tap water in this, so I was like, we need to put water wetter or whatever I did that day. Well, that dislodged all the nice calcium buildup that was in there and destroyed the thermostat. And then we cooked her a couple times that day, and then it was just not right since then. But by the time we got there, we didn't really care anymore, and we wanted to see how far we could push it.
And still ended up driving all the way back.
Yeah, and so our thought process was, again, as we explained in some of the videos, we were going to drive this with a 6x12 U-Haul trailer and live in that all the way across the country the 2 weeks we were there and then all the way back. Well, given the other problems, I didn't think it was going to be able to tow the trailer. And I'm glad we didn't, because we got to enjoy the car way more not towing a trailer. And we drove my truck just as a chase vehicle with all the tools and stuff in it. But the downside of that is we knew we had a backup plan at that point, or a way to tow the car home, so we really did not care about the car at that point. So our thought was, the farther it makes it to my house, the cheaper the U-Haul trailer would be. So we just kept driving it and made it all the way to my house on like 4 cylinders.
So what you're saying is, on your guys' channel, you got some good video coming.
Oh yeah, we have, I think Mike said we got about 10 or 12 videos of us just like being ruthless in every way possible.
And it's still here. Of course, different motor, but still here.
Yep. So being the nerd that I am, because I've got a lot of BMW background and I hate everything about these, but I know a lot, so it's helpful. I made everything modular. You'll see all the wiring, big connectors on it. It took me, I want to say 45 minutes from opening the hood to the motor sitting on the patio.
That's awesome.
Just because I made everything just how they do in the assembly line. Everything's quick connects. Most of my time was spent, so the motor that I pulled out of this is a M52, it's a 2.8 liter. On the outside they look exactly the same, just like the one in your car is a 3 liter. They look exactly the same,
yeah.
It's just internal differences.
So that, what liter is that, 2.8?
This one's a 2.5, the one I pulled out was a 2.8. There's some engine management differences, but I'm using all the 2.8 controls on this, so there's some weird stuff. Like this one has a cable throttle body, but it's also still drive-by-wire. It doesn't work now because the gasoline shorted all the internals out, but cable backup, it works good enough to drive. But the 2.5s, that would have been like 2000, I think was the split for that, because the 2.8 was only 2 years before that. But they're completely dry-by-wire, just like your car's an 03, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's completely dry-by-wire, there's no cable involved. But obviously I don't have any of the management on the car to make all that work. So I just swapped the intake, and again, a lot of the parts are interchangeable between the two. Yeah, the only issues I've had was, and I've had this happen in other vehicles I've had too. I had an E39 wagon that I did some weird jankery like this. Like going downhill on the highway, like in some like decel situations, it'll just start, I say misfiring, but it acts like it's running out of gas. But I have it set up on the tablet that controls everything in there. I can just clear all the codes, and then she's good to go again for another couple hundred miles. Should you pay attention to some of our videos, because again, it's misfiring because she's pumping water all the way through it. We have,
I'll show them the tablet setup you got.
Yeah, so the OBD2 connector's right next to it, and it's all Bluetooth to the tablet, and that's how we see all the vitals, the gauges, and speed.
I love the tablet holder. It's great.
And then, yeah, anything we want to look at, fuel trims. But you'll see in some of our videos, whoever's driving is like slamming the tablet over and over. That's because when these start misfiring, Once it detects it so many times, it shuts that cylinder off entirely, like fuel injector and coil and everything. So in order to keep it not from dying, we just kept clearing codes to keep the computer happy enough to keep trying to break stuff.
Oh. So, one thing that I am not letting Jake get out of here without doing is us going for a ride in this thing. So, we'll set up to go for a ride in it. But before we do that, Jake, tell everybody a little bit of where they can find you guys at and what you're into, and a little bit about what you're doing with Four Wheel Empire.
Yeah, so the main YouTube channel that was kind of born out of this and a couple other projects, but primarily right now it's almost exclusively this car. It's Cranked Up Motorsports, and you'll find from how we decided to build this, why we're doing it, and then every parts vehicle. We have a video per vehicle of us either dismantling or whatever, and you show the entire process of how we built it. Again, there's little details we miss here and there. You'll never cover all of it.
I'm sure if they commented into the description of the video, you would answer them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're very active on social media. Mike just started an Instagram page, Cranked Up Motorsports, the other day also. We're trying to get all grounds covered there. So where Four Wheel Empire comes to this is kind of new the last couple of weeks. Is what we're going to do is Cranked Up Motorsports will kind of be more the entertaining factor, us do the road trips and this kind of stuff. And then Four Wheel Empire, I'm going to probably take it another level deeper and spend more on like the engineering side of stuff, like the motor swaps and all the like how I decided to design this the way I did, and we'll kind of like split it down there so you can nerd out on. If you want to laugh, watch this one, or you want to nerd out on some of the stuff, you can go this way. But collectively, it's all the same thing.
Good deal. So we'll get ready to go for a drive here in a second, and we'll take the camera with us. Safety first, right?
Safety first, because if you crash, you're gonna die anyway. So it's really not.
We're all dead.
That's what everyone that doesn't know anything about cars peeks their head and like, oh, those seatbelts look so janky. I was like, yeah, no, the steering shaft going through my chest doesn't bother me at all.
Not at all.
Or any other non-plush item in this car that would collapse your lungs. Yeah, I didn't. Aesthetics were not our thing. It's definitely all function.
Where's that thing? Oh, there we are.
Yeah, I put the front ones in upside down, as you can tell, so they're super fun. Especially with one hand.
I might be too big a boy for this.
No, you just gotta, the retractors on the bottom. The one in the back works correctly, it just doesn't.
Oh, in case everybody's curious, there's the shift pattern.
I actually meant to do it the wrong way just to piss Mike off, but I didn't, I forgot.
All right.
But USB charging for the tablet or phone or whatever. Your headphones, GoPro, whatever we were running at the time. Our air conditioning is open right now. Yeah, so another thing, I didn't put a light in for it, but if it starts raining when you're driving, you have to close that, and you probably won't be able to capture it. All of the main controls are right under that vent, so the neat thing is all the water gets funneled right into all the computer and
that's awesome.
Fuses and stuff. Again, I did all the wiring in like 2 days, so it's super pretty.
Yeah.
It's all soldered and it's all reliable.
I'm sure it's all color coded as well.
Yeah, no. It's all out of the car and I didn't buy anything. It's definitely different colors every couple feet, but don't worry about that. But yeah, I retained, this was with the choke or something, I don't know. It doesn't do anything anymore, obviously. The lights, they still work up here.
Oh, sweet.
Sometimes they get a little weird. You hit a bump at midnight and the lights shut off, and then you gotta quickly figure out what you value in life. This sends power to the DME and it does its test of the fuel pump and all that. The gauge works, but it's backwards and isn't completely scaled the same way either, so
right now we're full.
Like, well, yeah, right now, sometimes it just doesn't do anything until you start driving. But yeah, empty is the full side, F is, I don't know. It's not reliably the same all the time. You got about 250 miles max if you're going on a straight road, because the tank's not baffled, so if you're getting on some curves, then it pulls away from the tube and you're pushing it. So that's fun. But these got interior lights. Just that one, pretty decent. Not to get about to tell during the day. These were going to be for the heated seats because these front two are heated, but I don't have any of the wiring to the seats done because that was a want. This, I believe, does nothing right now. And then this, I actually got the 80-year-old heater core and fan to work. So if you need heat, you can move it around wherever. But actually, those tubes go up to these defrost things, and it actually works really well.
That's
so
awesome.
Just flip that little Y valve and turn this on in the morning, clears windows up. But there's no wipers or anything. Those are just decoration.
So if it rains,
also on top of that, there's no front fenders if you notice.
Oh yeah.
So you get this nice rooster tail right into the windshield the whole time. So go get a coffee and just wait for it. But that only happened to us once in the whole 2-week trip. The other fun one is, again, without the fenders, I broke this side. Again, everything's 80 years old, so can't be too critical. So this takes all the nice rocks and stuff at 85 miles an hour and plows them right into your face when you're going down the highway. So that's fun. It keeps you awake from being distracted and whatnot. And then there's a bunch of earplugs and stuff down there because you'll know in a bit. Yeah, on the camera you won't be able to tell. You'll be like, wow, that thing sounds cool. But in here, you'll be like, my ears are bleeding. Yeah, other than that, there's not much going on in here. You can see daylight on almost all the doors.
I see daylight to the floor down there.
Yeah, so this tranny cover is actually removable, which evidently last night at 3 in the morning I didn't put it on totally correctly because it was a struggle to get in 5th gear all day, so I had to just slam it until the metal bent. Now the shifter works great. But it's nice the way that it's set up. You pull this sheet metal off right here. It's just zip screws. I don't even have to jack the car off to take the motor out because I can take the drive shaft and everything apart right here.
Just take motor and train in all out.
Yep. And then the cross member, I made my own cross member right here. You can take the bolts out from the top, and then everything's up front and it's all modular like we were just talking about. So again, it took me 45 minutes to get it out of the car. And then all our vitals and stuff right here. And then this tablet is so old. The thought was like you could use like Google Maps and stuff, but that, again, you can't hear anything in here for one, and everything's so outdated that it doesn't like overlay on the other screens, so you'd have to like bounce back and forth to whatever one you want. So we just don't do any of that. We run torque on here and that's it.
Well, let's see what it sounds like.
Yeah, so let's do that. I would be dumb of me not to show you the funnest part about this. So again, being the electrical nerd, Ben will appreciate this. So, how would you, I don't have keys for this car, so how would you not steal this? I mean, anyone could just walk in here and turn this over. So this isn't totally done because again, I didn't have time to finish it. There's a bunch of relays in here that don't do anything right yet, but I have this fob that goes to this RF controlled box under there with some relays and a bunch of other stuff that disarms the car so that, oh cool, we're about to steal it. No, it doesn't do anything but light up and make you embarrassed. How it's supposed to work, I didn't finish wiring it all up, is when it's armed, so it doesn't start or turn over, this latches 3 relays. One kills power to the main computer, kills the fuel pump relay, and also latches the horn on, and there's no way to turn it off until you push the button again. So not only are you trying to snoop around in the hotel parking lot in the night trying to steal my car, you also probably bled to death because when you got scared, you sliced yourself open trying to run out of the car. So I win.
And now you have tetanus.
Yeah. So... yeah. Oh, and also I set it up so if you disconnect the battery, it defaults to armed. So without the remote, which we've definitely forgot it a few times, and it's not totally idiot-proof because you don't need this to start the car. So if you forget it at home and then disconnect the battery or something, then I have to crawl under there and remember what color wire is what. And play that game. Yeah, no, it doesn't have big loopy cams in it. The throttle body is sorted out, so it doesn't know what's going on, so it's confused. But off idle, it's fine. There you go, now she's working again. I just filled it up. Yeah, it's 5-speed manual. High quality Harbor Freight tools that bled my knuckles all the time, so I was like, you're going in the trash, or I'll just weld you together. That's about all they're good for. This is a control arm off the rear that I use as the joint for the shifter that I literally took off the back of this car. I could have used all the proper pieces, but that costs money. And we built this out of 4 people parts. That's why it's fun.
Power steering work?
Power steering does work. The shaft isn't binding up. I put a new clutch in it last night too, and it's so light you can't even like feel anything in the pedal. I hate it.
That's kind of curvy and twisty Well, guys, we are here. We turn the lights on here. Hey, there is light in here. We are back. Jake wants to lift this thing up and look at it for a few moments to check something out. I don't know what it is yet, but you know, figure if you drive something 600 miles after you get done doing an engine swap, you want to check a few things. So thanks for watching the video, guys. Go to Jake's channel, check out this car, Cranked Up Motorsports, and hit that subscribe button down there on ours and his when you get there. And thanks for watching.